After the sacrifice of a lifelong of shouldering high debt, young people need hope, jobs, and homes. Why won't the Prime Minister reverse his disastrous decade of policies so that we can restore that hope?
Yesterday from the Prime Minister really freaked these Conservatives out because they saw the ambition in that speech. And not only did they see it in that speech today, as the Prime Minister stood with the Premier investing in new nuclear to ensure the jobs of today and the future, they know that the youth...
Speaker, we will take no lessons from these Conservatives. Trust me on that, Mr. Speaker.
It is too bad that that minister didn't write the Prime Minister's speech yesterday, because it wouldn't have bored and depressed to tears all of those poor students stuck in that room. There he spoke about how they would have to sacrifice more and that it would take time to reverse all of the misery that has built up over the last 10 years. Mr. Speaker, young people want to have homes. They want to have jobs. They want to have hope. They want a budget that is affordable so they can have a life that is affordable. Will the Prime Minister introduce that budget so that Canadians can restore the promise of their country?
Canada's economy is in fact growing, Mr. Speaker.
After the sacrifice...
Welcome to the nap, the no answer period, where we cover the question period prefaced by a review of the far left evil that has beset our land and the events that surround it. The nap is a daily show when the House sits or until the government decides to stop showing up in the lower house. We are streaming on 3 platforms, Rumble, X, and CommentTube. So please like, thumbs up, follow, share, subscribe, and most of all, the chat is up, so please feel free to ask anything. Keep it clean and don't be abusive. Or if you are, I don't really care. Comments drive the algorithm, and when I'm not driving it down with my forbidden words. Of course, that only applies to CommentTube. After the live stream, we will do a recap of the complete lies and stuff. If you want to know how we keep scores, it's down in the description. And because we do have a scoreboard that goes up during the question period itself. And let us move on to our first panel, so we can start covering what we have been covering prior to the question period every day. Let's see if we can do a quick little scene transition here. Transition anytime. Thank you. There we go. Ah, yes. Well, the House is sitting. The House sits a little earlier on Fridays, so they have a little earlier question period, and typically on Fridays in the House, in the lower house, well, question period is pretty empty. It's like half the people are missing, the weekend's coming up, MPs that need to travel for the weekend are taken off, and you don't usually have the party leaders even sitting in the House on a Friday. But we did have some rather interesting stories pop up overnight. So the question period today is going to be a zoo, I predict, regardless of who is there, especially with what Fat Trudeau pulled and how it pissed off the Americans. But before we get to that, let us cover the ostrich farm situation. Yesterday, we know that it was a ruling from the Supreme Court by all 3, it was a unanimous ruling by the justices that the birds are going to be culled. Like we mentioned yesterday, the day before that, the natives in the area served CFIA and the RCMP telling them that they were trespassing on their land into GTFO. So, and it was like, we didn't expect a ruling from the Supreme Court until like November. And then all of a sudden, poof, next day we get a ruling as soon as the natives step in. So we don't know. We don't know what's going to go on. It's still international. There's still a lot of international attention to this. But really, they're just going to go ahead and do what they want. They're going to continue to do whatever the hell they want as long as the Liberals are in power, because they will not be accountable to anybody. This is the international globalist legislation that has been put into Canada, that they can just come in and destroy your property and confiscate your property. And the way they have treated the neighbors around the area, basically telling them that they're just being allowed to stay on their land while they conduct these operations during peacetime. What the hell? There's a reason why we're calling the RCMP, the Chapo. That's how I'm going to pronounce it, RCMP. In the She universe. All right, next story that we are covering. We are also keeping track of the digital ID requirement that UK wants to bring in, and there is a petition saying, no, we don't want it. Slowly climbing to 3 million signatures. Not much movement since yesterday, looks like. We do a refresh on this, because I thought for sure it was like 219,899 yesterday. I would have to look at yesterday's show to actually know the numbers. And yeah, well, they're keeping track. Now, the reason we put this here, and because it has to do with the UK, because the clowns that are pushing that there are the same clowns that are going to be pushing it here, because they all work for the same big clown in the globalist HQ. Because digital ID only makes sense if you want to have complete, absolute control over your populace and not give them any freedom whatsoever. And they will say all kinds of reasons. Oh, it's to make it easier for you to get benefits, to make it easier for you to for safety, or for whatever reason. They'll make a whole bunch of reasons up. But you just need to ask yourself, we did along fine till now. Why do we need it now? Now, of course, if they come up with all kinds of reasons that whatever is broken now is why you need it, just remember, this shit wasn't broken back in 2015, right? They broke this shit so they could bring in their shit. And speaking of breaking shit, Moose on a Loose today, nice little piece. As we know, we've done a video on Mark Carney, more than a couple. He is the most unethical prime minister in the history of Canada. He is heavily invested in small modular nuclear reactors by having himself invested in Westinghouse, which is a subsidiary of this very company here that they are dropping $2 billion in.
Technology that will power homes in Ontario with clean energy.
So the tough thing about this is I fully support this. This is what we should be doing. It's been proven that nuclear energy is the way to go. We should be doing more oil and gas and exporting it and making money to other countries. We should be doing nuclear here, and then we can export that as well and build reactors elsewhere. The problem with this is Mark Carney is invested in this exact project. So he's making money from this, which is against the law. I've been adding some stuff to my board here and I can prove it. You notice some additions now on the sides of every one of Mark Carney's direct conflicts of interest. What do we have here? We'll just go right to the nuclear energy Darlington small modular reactor, the one that Mark Carney is at right now. He just gave $2 billion of our money to this company. This project is being built in conjunction with Ontario. They're building a GE Vernova BWRX 300 small modular reactor at the existing OPG site, the first SMR of its kind.
It was about building major projects. It was about the project that Prime Minister Carney announced with Premier Ford.
Now, first off, who is GE Vernova? That's General Electric. General Electric, now their aerospace industry division is General Electric. That's what became of that. But now they've got GE Vernova, which is their energy sector of their business. And one company GE Vernova owns is GE Hitachi, which they own in conjunction with Hitachi. Hitachi owns 20%. GE Vernova owns 80%. This is important because Mark Carney name drops GE Hitachi in this press conference, once again violating the Conflicts of Interest Act. He's not allowed to directly name drop companies or directly be involved in companies that would personally benefit himself. Another company that is involved in this, you can see here, GE Vernova is the reactor designer and the technology supplier, where BWX Technologies is providing nuclear components and manufacturing services, including reactor pressure valves and fuel handling systems. The fuel, I'll also note, is coming from Westinghouse, which was bought by Brookfield and Cameco. Brookfield holds 51.1% of Westinghouse. And Mark Carney also name drops Cameco in this press conference, which I've got on the side of my board here. So I've been clipping certain things like this and turning them into little YouTube clips that can be watched right on the board here.
This is about also establishing leadership in the technology, and the technology and that expertise housed in the men and women behind me and their counterparts, housed in companies like GE, Hitachi, and the supply chain through here, housed in other elements of the Canadian nuclear, all the way back to Cameco, who will be supplying the fuel.
The most unethical prime minister in the history of Canada. How can we really trust this prime minister at all? How can we trust him? He lied during the election, stating that he only owned cash and property, only to turn out that he has this massive investment portfolio. We will be putting the link for the Moose chart down below. David here does awesome work. Please subscribe to his channel. Please watch his videos. He puts out at least 2 a day. Very prolific. And he has all the receipts. Like all of us, we try to put all our links for everything that we have in the description because we know how the far left reacts. They call us names. They call us racists. They call us disinformation artists. Or whatever it is they want to do, misinformation, disinformation, blah, 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 blah. But these people are on record lying every freaking day in question period. But you're going to trust these clowns? And you can't even get a straight answer out of them in committee. Speaking of which, let's go to committee.
Implement UK-style censorship laws into Canada.
Thank you to all the witnesses for your time and analysis on this. I'd like to start with you, Professor Party, and because you're joining us virtually, you didn't have the privilege of seeing the Liberal members of this committee snickering as you were talking about the Liberal government's assaults on civil liberties in the past. But I think that is important context for what we're seeing here, because in your opinion, these are not benign provisions. These are significant expansions of the power of the state to regulate thoughts and emotions and expressions, correct?
Correct, yes.
So when you look at language, and I'll ask you this as well after Professor Alford, but first, Professor Party, in your analysis of legislation in the past and your knowledge of statutes, when words are omitted from jurisprudence, that is not what codification of jurisprudence is, correct?
Correct, yes.
So explain in practice, if you are a police officer that is doing an investigation or you are a judge weighing in on this, how significant is the omission of the words extreme manifestation from the definition of hate that exists in the common law now to the one that C9 puts in law in the criminal code?
Yes, so thank you for the question. And this is really Professor Alford's point. You have a common law, you have a jurisprudential context. The Supreme Court of Canada in the 2012 case of Whatcott describing what was a reasonable limit on freedom of expression. And let's just underline this. They said that this was a reasonable limit, but they also said that this is an infringement of freedom of speech. So what you have to start with in C9 is an infringement of freedom of speech. This definition does infringe freedom of speech. That's what the Supreme Court says. Okay, so this is an infringement from a government that claims to be a government of the Charter and of rights. So we start there, and then if you fiddle with the wording, if you leave words out, if you make it detestation or vilification and not and, for example, then you are downgrading the threshold above which you need to get in order to find that this is established. right? So this is it's a little bit of playing around with the words so as to appear as though you're doing exactly what the Supreme Court said, while you're not really doing that at all.
And I'll go to you on this, Professor Alford. I believe you did.
Yes, so that pretty well sums it up right there. I don't know how often we can keep saying it, but it's strange that whenever we engage anybody on the left and we tell them about all these evil things that the left is doing, that the left has done, that they have in the pipeline to bring out a police state in Canada, they don't engage. They just blank you. They ignore you. They say nothing. Because they think that, oh, just hang on. We'll just keep smiling. We'll keep our propaganda going. We'll keep fooling all these useful idiots until we have full control over every single last thing. And then it'll be too late. We will confiscate their bank accounts. We will seize their property. We will kill their pets and animals. We will force them to eat the food that they are allowed to eat. We will put them in jail if they don't think right. We will kill all their pets and animals because there's no need for that in society. We need to make sure that everything is safe and that nobody is offended by any, loose animals, because not everybody should have a pet. If you have a pet, I don't have a pet, nobody should have a pet, right? That's the form of equity in the communism that the Liberals want to bring about here in Canada. Now, of course, when you have cultural Marxists in charge of your country that are so busy in changing society and molding it into their own ideological half-wittery so that they can achieve complete control, they will abandon everything else that doesn't fit their ideological goals. And if that includes making sure that industry stays in Canada, because they really don't care, right? Communists don't care. They say, oh, no, we'll just make our own stuff. We will be our own best customers. Yeah? How did that work out for the USSR? Yeah? How did that work out? Decades of poverty, impoverishment, misery. Oh, yeah. Haven't we seen enough of that over the past 10 years? Well, when you chase business out of your country through legislation or by making it easier for them to exploit the consumers that you are supposed to be protecting as your government, well, of course they're going to take advantage of you. Here's a piece by Mario explaining this very thing.
I just spoke to a whistleblower, and we have about a week and a half left before key jobs that handle our critical infrastructure are shipped over to India. Let me ask you this. Do you want someone in India to be able to access and know who you're texting or who you're calling? Because that's literally what's happening. And Rogers can actually put a stop to this. These employees are Ericsson employees through a joint venture to which Rogers owns 80% of the voting shares. Here's the thing. Canada made a huge mistake during the pandemic. When we had all of our PPE, we had everything made overseas. We had no manufacturing in Canada. We learned a very hard lesson. Now we're learning another hard lesson with the tariffs imposed by Donald Trump. We thought we could trust our neighbors. Do we want to learn a third lesson of what will happen if we have another country being able to access and manage our critical infrastructure? I'm sorry, but if I'm a Rogers customer, I'm canceling and I'm going somewhere else. Think about the millions, if not billions of dollars that US taxpayers are actually paying Rogers through municipal, provincial, and federal contracts. They're making a ton of money off of you, and they're shipping Canadian jobs out to India because they want to save a few bucks. Did you know that these employees who are about to lose their jobs on our jobs being lost with our critical infrastructure through Rogers, then were lost through the Crown Royal when he made that big public statement and dumped out the... And it is such a deep concern that I heard that conservative MPs are talking to their liberal counterparts. That's how much of a problem this is. And it's not just them. It's Scotiabank. They just laid off 2,500 people. The government removed the notice from their website stating this, and they're shipping those jobs off to the Dominican. Canadian Tire did the exact same thing, let go of a ton of IT staff, made them train their Indian counterparts, and then ship those jobs off to India. Do you have any idea how much worse this is for our economy? At least with temporary foreign workers, the money they earn, the groceries, the overhead, it stays within our economy in Canada. These jobs All that money is being spent and sent overseas to India. And not only that, you have no idea the critical infrastructure that they will have access to. Every single level of government should be opposing this. And if it were me, if I were a mayor,
Well, our stream on Rumble just ended. Just stopped for no reason. Just went blank, went dark. And we're still broadcasting dark. I don't even know if we're getting any sound out there. For some reason, there is just no image. So we are going to have to start another stream. We will be right back. This is twice now Rumble has done this to me this week. All right. We'll be right back. I believe the YouTube and X account will recap right away, but as for X, you'll have to click on to the next created stream as I cancel this one. Thanks a lot, Rumble. It's twice now.